Welcome to the Mindfulness broadcast. I just returned for last night, late last night, returned from a road trip, and it was long. It was 2 days driving. I was down near in southeastern Nevada, near Arizona, Utah border, and camping and hiking, and it was just so amazing and beautiful. And then there were 2 days of driving back. And so I listened to a lot of podcasts and books, and all of those are always self-help and betterment and coaching because that's what I love. And so I'm coming at you. We're reinvigorated and full of so many great ideas. And then I hit the snowstorm yesterday between Susanville and in Northern California, and I couldn't listen anymore. So then I just had this opportunity of silence and digestion. So what I'm bringing you this morning is really kind of this whole culmination of different podcasts that I was listening to. And then at the end, I'll put the link to the specific one that I'm pulling an exercise from Mel Robbins' podcast. But essentially, what all of these were talking about, regardless of what filter or what lens we were using to look at it, was about change, right? And that's really the essence of what my whole career has been built on, is navigating, giving tools and helping folks and organizations navigate change. And for those of you who are in coaching or in workforce development, you're doing the same thing. You're working with people as they navigate professional changes, family changes, organizational changes, etc. And the irony to all of that, while we as human beings are in a constant state of sometimes voluntary, often involuntary change, we're not that great at it either, right? So that's the dichotomy, that's the irony of it all. And so we really, we build some, I don't know why this does that. Sorry, I've got things that pop up on my screen. While we are always in a constant place of change, we're not that great at it. And we're uncomfortable often with change of other people, of the world, of organizations, right? We think about maybe if somebody's changed jobs, or they've changed roles, or they've changed genders, or they've changed partners, or they've changed where they live or what they're doing, or even email addresses or interests, and they've let something go. It can be kind of hard for us because we build an identity around those things. So it isn't just kind of what we do or an interest or an aspect of it. We build it in as an identity because the brain is trying to find patterns, predictability, etc. And so one of the exercise, so mindfulness, really, if we just kind of underscore all of that with this gift of mindfulness, it's this reminder that we're caught in this. We're in a constant place of change, and there's generally a discomfort and dislike about it. And so that causes a differential between us, our head and our heart, or what we want in reality. And so mindfulness, if we kind of wrap that all through with a mindfulness bow, it's the ability to be compassionate with ourselves and see that, right? So my response, or my actually reaction to change, mine or somebody else's, where it might first be like, "Ugh," or "this is bad," or we can just compassionately meet ourselves there and say, "Oh, okay, that's interesting that that was my first response. What's the story I'm telling myself about that? What is the expectation that I have for myself or for somebody else, or for my body, for example, as I'm turning 50 in May, and my body's changing, and I can take that and shame myself and say, oh, I can't do the things I used to do. I don't feel as great as I used to feel. I don't look the same way I used to look, and shame myself for that and belittle myself for that. Or I can catch myself in those moments and say, oh, that's interesting. Look at that. There's some expectation I have that I would always be in my 23-year-old body that could run and jump and climb and do all of those things. There's some expectation. Now, if I bring that into my prefrontal cortex, I can say, well, that's silly. Of course, my body is changing. Of course, the world is changing. Of course, whatever. Of course, everything and everybody, the seasons, the sun, the weather, everything is changing. And so if I'm present with that process, I get to build in empathy and compassion. The other part of that is we also get to be this kind of the coaching bit of it is that we also get to be once we're mindful with it, we get to be present in the design of our present state. So we can go to the past and think about, when did I feel more joyful? When did I feel better? What was my life like then? And what are the hints? How can I build back in some of those things that are within my control? And kind of redesign my present moment once I'm mindful with it. So that's what we're going to spend our practice doing. Again, this was a culmination of a lot of time in my truck driving and inspirational landscapes and the combination of some podcasts. But one in particular, I think I've got it in here, is this particular episode from Mel Robbins, episode 152. So I put it in there. If this exercise speaks to you, you can play with it a little bit more deeply. All right, and with that, go ahead and close your eyes, or you can take a soft gaze. Just find yourself in the silence this morning. I'm going to set you up for this and then leave you for a moment so that you can just be in the silence. I want you to just find your breath, feel it in your body, notice it, and allow your body to be present into this practice, grounding, balancing, bringing attentiveness to your state of being. I'll leave you quietly for a moment so you can do that work. And if in this process you notice your mind is monkeying around, notice any judgment you have or expectation you have, and see if you can just meet yourself where you are. Our ability to focus is also in a constant state of flux. And so rather than saying something like, "What's wrong with me? I can't even focus on this," instead we say, "I want to be really mindful and continue to bring my mind back to this meditation or to my anchor or to the exercise." And this morning, I want you to think about, I'm going to guide you through this a little bit. And it's different than what Mel did on the podcast, but I'm doing my own little version of it. I want you to think about, you might be in the past, it might be in the future, it might be fantasy, you living your best life. You at your best. Maybe there's joy. Maybe there's silence. Maybe there's happiness. If you can't land on something, it's okay. It's normal. And you can just listen and then allow your mind to go where it needs to go for this. It might be that it needs to go for a walk and think about it, or journal on it, talk it out. Think about you being at your best. And then when you land there, if you can, look around, metaphorically. What's present? What are you doing? What's a typical day like in that either memory or future self, or maybe present self for some of you? When do you wake up? What do you do when you first wake up? What are you eating? Who are you talking to? How are you talking? What do you see? What do you do throughout your day? What is your relationship with love, power, time, self? Notice. Very often, when we go back or when we fantasize, we think that whole thing has to be in place in order to begin that movement, that directing this constant change we're in towards this whole thing changing. Everything has to change for the joy to return, for the happiness to return. And instead, what I want you to do is look at that through the lens of what are the hints? What's the one thing that was impacting your happiness the most? Was it movement? Was it relationship? Was it a change of locations? The type of work that you were doing? Working with people or working with creativity? Look around for one hint. Look like you do when you're working with people navigating change and helping them find those things they're good at, the strengths. Look through that lens at you. And as we begin to close the practice, see if there's one thing that you can bring from that into your present life to direct your constant growth and evolution purposefully and mindfully. And maybe it looks different. The faces look different. Places look different. But how can you return to just that one thing and begin to integrate it back into your life and allow it to flourish again? Or perhaps for the first time. Return back to your body and your breath, noticing what's present for you, if there's a joy, a grief, a curiosity. And when you're ready, opening your eyes, returning your gaze. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Thanks so much.